Hi, I'm Dr. Chrisanne Simpson Harley, and today we're going to talk about uterine fibroids. Now, uterine fibroids are just some muscular growths that happen in the muscle of the womb or the uterus. So they can be located in different areas of the womb. The lining that you shed every month is called the endometrium. You do have some uterine fibroids that are growing just below the lining. We call those submucosal fibroids. Now, those are the fibroids that usually cause a woman to have a lot of heavy bleeding because a lot of blood flow is going to those fibroids. You have the lining being built up over those fibroids, and then you get excessive bleeding. So those women will notice that they get clots during the period, and sometimes the period can be painful as well. Women that have fibroids that are in the muscle itself, so in the central part of the uterus, they will notice that they will get more than likely some more pain during the periods. And women that have larger fibroids towards the outside of the uterus will usually notice that the tummy gets higher. Most women tend to have a combination of all three, and you do have some women that will have just one, some in one location, some in another, sometimes just one fibroid. The presence of fibroids in somebody's uterus is usually picked up routinely. So say for example they get pregnant and they do an ultrasound, that's usually the time sometimes that we'll pick up a uterine fibroid. So just because a woman has uterine fibroids, it doesn't mean that she's going to necessarily need surgery. It doesn't mean that anything is specifically wrong with her, right? It's only the patients that have fibroids that are now having symptoms like heavy bleeding, pain. Some women will also notice that they get pregnant and they keep having recurrent miscarriages. Situations like those are patients that we actively try to do something about the fibroids. You do have occasional women that will notice what we call compressive symptoms. So because the uterus is growing with the fibroids, some women will notice like constipation, especially around the time of the period, or they have to be running to the bathroom all the time. They have what we call urinary frequency, and then on ultrasound some patients will also notice that it's compressing the tubes that lead from the kidney. We call those the ureters. When the fibroids get so big that they start to compress that, they start to get backflow of the urine towards the kidneys, and then they start to get fluid collecting within the kidneys. Patients like those are patients that we recommend treatment for the uterine fibroids. But let me just state, by the time a Jamaican woman or a black woman gets to the age of 45 to 50, about 70% of us will have at least one fibroid. But it's a much smaller subset of women that will need us to do something about it. So just as I'm going to reiterate, just because the doctor tells you that you have fibroids doesn't mean that you're going to end up needing any kind of treatment or any kind of surgery, right? So people sometimes will ask, can they become cancerous? It's really rare. Less than 1% potentially will change. It's extremely rare for them to become cancerous. So they are growths, but they are benign, non-cancerous growths. So in terms of what should you do if you find out that you have a fibroid, usually you really should see a specialist. Just going to see a gynecologist, find out some more about your fibroids, the locations, tell them if you're having any symptoms, and then your doctor will take it from there, right? If it is that treatment is recommended, treatment for the fibroid itself, sometimes what we'll do is try and manage the symptoms at first. So say for example a woman that has heavy bleeding might notice that her blood count has dropped, she's anemic. What we might try to do is just stop the period for a while, which is quite safe. Use hormonal therapy to stop the period for a while to get her blood count back up. right? So those are the things that sometimes we can do when we talk about treatment, but we can't, there's actually no true medical treatment currently for uterine fibroids, unfortunately. There are things that we can use to suppress the growth for a while, but those are temporary. So for example, what we have noticed is that women who get to menopause and past menopause, we notice that when we repeat the ultrasounds, the fibroids have shrunken somewhat or they become calcified. Why that happens is because you have less of the female hormone estrogen during the menopausal period. So there are medications available that can sort of simulate that menopausal period to try and get just a small shrinkage of the fibroids. So if the fibroids are like really small and we want to try that, that is an option. But most patients that end up using it, they can't stay on the treatment for more than 6 months. So it's not a long-term option in terms of treatment of the fibroids. Pretty much the main treatment of fibroids, once they're creating problems in terms of bleeding, pain, infertility, usually surgical. We usually have to remove the fibroids. Now, surgery is varied. So most people say, I don't want to take it out because I'm going to lose my womb. But no, we can actually remove the fibroid and repair the womb and keep it intact, right? There are some patients, so for example, patients who have finished having children, are not interested in having children, or have other challenges, or they're close to the menopausal age, those are the patients that are more likely to be recommended to just remove the uterus. But patients who are younger, who are still interested in having children, or just don't want to remove the uterus, as I said, we can just remove the fibroids and keep the uterus intact. The challenge with any kind of procedure, so fibroids will grow back. The reality is, even after surgery, fibroids can return within 5 to 10 years. You do have some that are more aggressive and will return within a year or two, but majority of them, it will take a lot longer. So it does buy some time, and a lot of patients actually they get significant relief of the symptoms once they've had surgery done. So really, once you find out that you have uterine fibroids, or if you suspect, really the main thing is to go into your doctor, sit down, talk to your doctor, have your doctor explain location of the fibroids, talk to them if you're having any symptoms. If you're not having any symptoms, meaning it's not bothering you, let sleeping dogs lie. Leave them alone. Right? The only time you need to do anything about it is if it is that you're having problems, pain, bleeding, having issues getting pregnant. That's the only time we would say, you know, go ahead and do something about the fibroids, right?
Again.